On today's show, we'll break down the Ottawa Senators' most complete performance of the season, shutting out the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And we'll preview back-to-back games this weekend.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You need last-minute tickets? Get them for the lowest prices with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Today is Friday, December 19th, and Pilsy, we've been begging for a start-to-finish dominant win, and we got one last night with Ottawa never in doubt beating up on the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, what a way to come back from the road trip. I mean, this is what we wanted the Sens to do last time. Didn't work out that way, but they made up for it this time with a huge 4-0 win up against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Sens' first shutout of the season. Took a little longer than you would have liked, though.
Yes, it did. There's some teams with more than 5 shutouts. I'm looking at you, Minnesota. But if you're the Ottawa Senators, and if you're Linus Ullmark, he called it getting the monkey off his back. He'd been thinking about this, and he was building to it as well. Phenomenal in the third period and overtime against the Winnipeg Jets. Had a .920 save percentage there. Brings it home and brings his save percentage up a few ticks, which was great to see. Then we'll get into the question of which game do you start Linus Ullmark in this weekend. You imagine the two goalies will split that, but for his confidence, he's a goalie that's a bit streaky. We're learning that throughout his first year and a bit in Ottawa, and it was about this time last year where he was just absolutely unbeatable.
Yeah, he really started heating up in December. Now, there was an injury in the middle of that where he's played this season majority of the games. I think you want Linus Ullmark up against the more important opponent in the Boston Bruins, in my opinion, and he gets an extra day off there. So I would go Levi Merrill Saturday up against Chicago, and then Linus Ullmark Sunday up against Boston in Boston.
Okay, give him a little revenge game opportunity. Yeah. I don't mind that, but what we're also looking is some big news this weekend, and that is the return imminent for Thomas Chabot. Dennis Gilbert has been reassigned to the Belleville Sens. They've got a game tonight, their first one under new head coach Andrew Campbell, interim head coach, but we'll see what that means for Chabot, whether they put him in for both games or if they're looking at, hey, let's ease him in. We saw him come back too early and re-aggravate it. What's going to be the process there? It was an off-ice activation day for the Senators, so no line combos. We'll break that down a little bit later, but you weren't on the postcast, Pilsy, so your overall thoughts on last night's game?
Epic game. I missed the first 2 periods, got home from my beer league game to watch the third, then watch the condensed game after. I mean, there's not really much you can say about the Ottawa Senators other than a textbook win there. Like Brady Tkachuk getting that power play goal. Elite little backhand sauce from Batherson to start it off on the power play. I wanted that first goal. They got it. And then not only do they get goals from the veterans and David Braun and Claude Giroux, but they were creating chances all night. Like Tim Stützle with that shorthanded breakaway, silky move. He can't beat him. I thought they were really creating offense all over the place. And the Pittsburgh Penguins did score a goal, but it was disallowed right away. And Pittsburgh challenged it, and the challenge failed also. So, like, that's what you want to see, because it wouldn't have hit the same, Ross, if this was a 4-1 game. I think that shutout was huge for Linus Ullmark's confidence, so I'm glad that was the case. And then I feel bad, hashtag goalie-friendly show, when a goalie's in no man's land skating to the bench like Shilov's was there, and Brady Tkachuk gets the puck that bounces over Carlson's stick, and he just pots the empty netter there, because that's a tough look, but nice for Brady to keep things going here, as he now has 3 goals in his last 2 games.
Yeah, that's huge too, right? I know he'd trade them all just to get 2 points in the standings, but he's going to be an important piece offensively for this team going forward. And there were some questions, I think, among the fan base where it's like, is his shot a little bit off after having the broken thumb? Obviously, that's going to affect the way you're holding the stick, your ability to practice shooting for quite a while. And yeah, he turned into a playmaker there for a bit, but great to see him back scoring. That's 3 goals in his last 2 games now, and we'll see how he continues that this weekend with 2 huge games coming up. I was also impressed on the back end with a few of the depth guys who probably knew that Thomas Chabot's close to coming back. I thought that Jordan Spence had a really nice performance. I thought Nicholas Matinpalo on his offside blocked 3 shots in that game, had the assist on the empty netter, which is obviously the way that goal went in, not necessarily the hardest working assist that he's ever had, but always good to see you get on the point sheet. Nick Jensen also assisted on that goal, got the same feeling there. So it's going to be an interesting decision to see if maybe it's Nick Jensen coming out. I highly doubt that. My guess would be that it's going to be Thomas Chabot, Nick Jensen on the second pair, and then you've got Clevin and Spence in a little bit more sheltered role than they've been able to play in the last little while. But good problems to have right now, because it's not one guy right now that you're like, oh goodness, you got to get him out of the lineup. It feels like the Ottawa Senators overall, their last 4 games where they have a 3-1-0 record, and it could have very well been 4-0. The unfortunate ending in Minnesota stopping that from happening, but the boys are playing real good hockey right now. So I think this back-to-back for a Saturday Sunday is coming at a great time. First back-to-back in a while for the Sens as well. They haven't had a back-to-back in quite some time. Was it the 8th and 9th when they played Philly and Utah? Like it's been a long time. It feels like start of the season, there were a few mixed in there. Yeah, no back-to-back since early November. Yeah. So I'm excited for this one. The Sens historically very good with those weekend Saturday, Sunday back-to-backs. I mean, they got the back-to-back wins against Philly and Utah the last time they had that. And last year they were elite in those situations. So really, really excited for this. And we don't have to wait long on Saturday for the game either, being a 3:00 start.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Claude Giroux can keep it going. I said, look out for him up against the Penguins. He scores that goal. Kind of a funny one, too. Stuck in Michael Amadio's skate, and Giroux's like, hey, let me get this, and just slings it in. But then let's keep it rolling. A matinee game on Saturday for G as well.
What was Erik Karlsson thinking on that play?
I don't know. What happened with Carl there?
He was just caught watching.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was asking you.
Yeah, well, I don't remember what happened there. I think he was just, when it gets caught in a player's skate like that, I think you're waiting for that puck to come out, but it kind of was like magnetized to Amadio's skate blade, and then Giroux just picked it out.
Yeah, and Carl was just kind of caught in no man's land, but all good. We're fine with that, with the Ottawa Senators earning it. And kind of cool, I mentioned on the postcast, but the Penguins are one of the oldest teams in the league, and Ottawa's 2 oldest players both scored in the game, with Perron getting his 800th point and Claude Giroux finding his way. Only Giroux's 2nd goal in his last 15 games. So nice to see him get some offensive production, and we'll see if that can continue in his favorite spots, those matinees that are coming up. Although the Sunday game is a 7 p.m. start, but tomorrow in particular will be interesting. We'll get to a full game day preview a little bit later on. You can save it for Saturday morning, or you can get in the mix early and find out what the heck we're looking forward to. No Connor Bedard, by the way, in the lineup. I know that's a ticket sales dream to have those superstar players coming to town when they're in the Western Conference. It's only once a year. Connor Bedard will not be in the lineup. And the Chicago Blackhawks, they could use him. They've been losing quite a bit of late, including back-to-back losses on this road trip in Eastern Canada to the Leafs and then to the Montreal Canadiens last night. But if you're looking at this from Ottawa's perspective, waking up this morning, you're looking at not only this one game, but I think you could even go really the stretch since the last Chicago game. Like, is that fair to say? From that point on, I mean, the Sens have an 11-8-3 record. It doesn't jump out at you when you add in those overtime losses. You're at a 500 pace from 22 games out, but I like the way they're building here, man. There's so much to look forward to, and I really think that the way these players were kind of forced to grow up defensively with Thomas Chabot out, I think watching Tyler Clevin this weekend is going to be really interesting to see him with a little bit less pressure on his plate.
Yeah, and the penalty kill has really done well, Ross. Another game where it's a perfect 100% on the penalty kill. And How about shutting old man Sid out, not allowing him to reach an illustrious milestone, while David Perron and Tim Stützle rub it in his face, getting 800th point and 400th game.
Yep, the Senators' PK is 12 for their last 14. So if that can keep up, that would
nice.
be a very, very good sign. And it helps in your power play has been lighting it up. Get this, Pillsy. Over the last 7 games, now the Sens are 3-4-0 during this stretch. The power play has gone 10 for its last 25.
Yeah. It's been
wow.
solid.
It's so interesting how there's ebbs and flows in a power play like that, right? Like they score early, first power play of the game, 2 minutes. And Brady Tkachuk said after the game, like, you don't always want that early power play because you're not really into the game yet. You haven't had a lot of puck touches. You haven't skated a whole lot. The ice is still fresh. You don't know what's going on. But when you can score on it, man, that just brings all the momentum into your favor.
But the flip side of that is the penalty killers aren't really into the game yet either, right? So you'd rather be the team on the man advantage when everyone's still fresh and feeling it than be the team down trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah, maybe. I think when you're looking at how quick you have to move it around on the outside, like that, you have to be crispy right off the bat. Not always easy to do.
They did it, though.
They did it. They did it, and they will hopefully continue to do that. And the Chicago Blackhawks have a great PK, so it's going to be a good test for the Senators tomorrow. We'll get to that game day preview. We'll get to what Thomas Chabot's return means for the Ottawa Senators and a whole lot more next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. Puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You're going to see prices, including fees up front, which I love. No last-second surprises at checkout, and alerts for teams and matches make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or sporting event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Farm to Fork. Are you a fan of premium, high-quality meats that have no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs? Well, we got great news for you thanks to our friends at Farm to Fork. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and a whole lot more. And everything is flash frozen right at the butcher's table, individually packaged for your convenience. Farm to Fork's meats are top-notch. I'm a huge fan of the ribeyes. You can get this perfect gift, by the way, for your last-minute Christmas list. Woo! You show up with a big thing of meat to the door. When it's this good, wow, you're going to be a family favorite right away. They're chicken air-chilled, which means it's fresher and more flavorful than what you get in the store. And they're delivering all across Ontario and Western Quebec. The best part, delivery is free. With a minimum order of $199. You don't even have to leave the house to get this quality. And we've got a special code just for you. That's code LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. That's the number 2. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. That's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order at farm2forkdelivery.ca. All right, Millsy. Just want to thank everyone for making Locked On Senators your first listen of the day and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now let's take it up a level and go ad-free. You can join the Everydayers Club today and get Locked On Sens with no interruptions, along with access to a members-only Discord and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. You can head to the link below, lockedonsenators.supercast.com, to learn more. We only scratched the surface on Linus Ullmark's performance last night. 24 saves, first shutout of the season. His first period saves were outrageously confident building. There was no rebounds. There was elite lateral mobility. And what I love most is he didn't put himself in bad situations. He had to make that save against Winnipeg where he gave the puck away behind the net. This was just a calm, cool, collected victory for Linus Ullmark.
Yeah, and I think that big finish to the Winnipeg game helped bring that momentum over, because the start of that Winnipeg game was not great for Linus Ullmark. It looked like he was playing with two blockers out there. Everything that hit his glove was falling down, and he wasn't tracking rebounds good. Whereas come overtime in the third period of the Jets game, he really dialed it in, and then he carried that over to this game with the shutout. So I think it's so massive he gets the shutout here. Like you said, last year, this is when he started heating up. So I hope we can see that again here.
Yeah, so can I. And you're going up against Chicago's got an elite goaltender with Spencer Knight.
Yes.
We expect that he will start in this game. So Ottawa is going to have to match it, whether it's Maryland or Ullmark in net. I would like to see Levy get a bit more goal support than he's had in the last couple of games, because I don't think that the last game in particular in Minnesota is one where you can point at the goaltending and say, it could have been better. I thought Levy was great in that game. Doesn't get the result, and the numbers aren't there, but I really do still have confidence in him to be better. And Ullmark, I mean, we're not going to dance around it. After the second period in Winnipeg, I say, you're losing me, man. You got to be able to put on some confidence for your team. And he just wasn't able to do it. And now all of a sudden he can't miss. He's been awesome. So great situation the Senators find themselves in there, and they're in the division of death. I'm going to call it the Atlantic Division, where it's about as tight as you could imagine. We looked at on Monday the games that are remaining before the Christmas break for each of these teams. Now, after last night, all 8 teams have played one of their remaining 3 or 4 games. And get this, Pilsy, the top 3 teams in the division, Detroit, Boston, Tampa, they all lost that game in regulation, whereas the bottom 5 teams, only Toronto lost, the other 4 teams win. So it was close on Monday, and it's even closer now on Friday.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why the Sens picking up 2 points in back-to-back games is so clutch. And don't forget, the Sens have games in hand on a lot of these teams ahead of them. Tampa, Boston, Montreal, and Detroit all have more games. So, like, if the Sens can pull together back-to-back wins this weekend, especially a regulation win against Boston, that changes everything. Like before, Ross, when I was heading to Winnipeg, the Ottawa Senators were tied for dead last in the Eastern Conference, not just the Atlantic Division. So if you can string together those 4 straight wins, you're now right in the hunt for a playoff spot again.
Well, speaking of 4 straight wins, that's what the floor of the division has just done. The Buffalo Sabres have won 4 in a row as well, and that's going to be Ottawa's opponent right before the Christmas break. So if you're the Senators, these next 2 games in particular, you got to be able to produce. You know what? Forget that. You got to get a win against the Buffalo Sabres. It has been way too long, and this could be the return of Josh Norris, but we'll have plenty of time to preview that, as that will be next Tuesday's game. We know that there's a lot of talk about the prospects for the Ottawa Senators, most namely Carter Yakimchuk. Still no update on whether he'll be in the lineup tonight for the Belleville Senators. He left last weekend's game with a lower body injury. We do know, though, that they're getting help on the back end there. It'll be Dennis Gilbert. And when we were talking with Dennis a couple of weeks ago when he was here with Belleville, he mentioned that he and Andrew Campbell were actually D partners in the AHL during Gilbert's rookie year. And now just a few years later, 5 to be exact, now they're head coach defenseman relationship. So I'm going to be really curious to see how Belleville looks this weekend. You think they get a new coach bump? I mean, 5 straight games against the division. You'd hope so.
Yeah, I hope so, Ross. They need it. And the Rochester Americans are a really good team, though. But also, that's Dennis Gilbert's old team. He was there just last season playing some games for them. So you hope that maybe he can bring a little scouting report and a nice boost to that D-core that took a big hit with Yak leaving.
A few notes from our good friend, Bruce Garriock, who wrote an article earlier this week just talking about how the Senators are active on the trade market. Nothing to report in terms of done deals yet or any that are on their way. Also worth noting that the NHL holiday trade freeze goes into effect tonight at midnight. So if there's no trades today, there will not be until after Christmas. That said, Bruce Garriock says that the Sens are looking for a top 9 forward as well as another defenseman, saying that they're led to believe that Staios has touched base with the Canucks, the Flames, the Blues, and the Predators. Are there any names that jump out on those teams that would be of interest to you?
Yeah, I mean a couple, but I don't understand looking for a top 9 guy. Like it's top 6 or nothing for me. Like I don't understand adding a guy that can't play either guaranteed in the top 6 or I would rather have a guy that you can look as a top line player and move Zetterlund down. So getting a guy that you're slotting into your third line doesn't make sense for me because then it's coming at the expense of probably moving Michael Amadio to the fourth line. So
yeah. What I would say to that though is that maybe the way they're wording that is just like they want the third best player on the line, right? Because if you have the pairs of Stützle, Tkachuk, Cousins, Batherson, you can have a quote unquote top 9 guy as long as they can play with good players.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to keep Zetterlund up in that top 6 as well. So really, it's about replacing David Perron. I mean, guys I'm interested in, Kiefer Sherwood, for sure. That's a physical player that's having a really nice season.
But he would be a guy that I think a lot around the league would consider a top 9 guy.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah. Dude, this Blake Coleman name, initially I turned my nose up at it because he's got the extra year on his contract at $4.9 million. But he's having a sneaky good year. 3 shorthanded goals, 10 goals, 15 points, plus 10. He's got 2 cups, right? We know that Steve Staios likes the leadership aspect and having guys come in that have won before. So that is a name that I'm going to keep my eye on.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like Marchessault is interesting too. Obviously, it's not working in Nashville for him, but he's only a couple of years removed from Conn Smythe. I think if you put him in a different scenario, he could be good, but he's got term left on that deal, and he's on the wrong side of 30, so that makes me nervous. I'm still standing on the don't make a big trade side of this argument here. Like, if anything, I'm more interested in acquiring a defenseman at this point. But with Shabbat coming back, that becomes less important. So I don't think now is the time for the Ottawa Senators to make a big move.
Maybe they do the 2-for-1 shopping deal. I always think back, this is so random, so long ago, but remember when they got Corey Stillman and Mike Commodore together in a trade? It's like that type of trade would be kind of what they're looking for, a middle 6 winger, as well as a second to third pair defenseman that can give you proper depth, because it's going to be a sprint this season with the condensed schedule. There's going to be injuries. You have to have 8 defensemen and 14 forwards, basically, that you're confident in any given night that can play at the NHL level. Pillsy, I said yesterday I could feel it in my bones that Stephen Halliday was getting his first NHL goal. He came so damn close. It took a heroic diving effort from Shilovs to rob him of his first.
Yeah, and a nice back check by Letang there, too. That's on you, Ross. If you would have had the confidence to say Levy Lock, he puts that one in. I still don't understand the I feel it in my bones, but I can't guarantee it.
I know.
You're gonna have to explain that one to me.
I know. I had the race to 4 goals, though. That was sick last night. Thanks for the early pull, Dan Muse. I wasn't even sure he was going to pull it down 3 goals.
Yeah, it was 6 minutes left, too. That was a weird one.
No, I was musing about it, and I enjoyed it. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. But we're on to Chicago.
Yes.
As the Senators have now won 3 of their last 4 games. Preview of Saturday's matinee next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And it's not just NFL Sundays that move fast, NFL Thursdays too. arguably the greatest Thursday night football game of all time, with momentum swings going back and forth, turnovers, crazy 2-point conversions. And that's when live betting is at its best. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long.
All right, Pilsy, give me another Ottawa Senators game day. So I'm starving for them. I got the boots on the ground taste, and now I just want to see the boys continue to climb the standings, and it's going to be against a horrible logo on the other side. Ottawa has just not had success against the Chicago Blackhawks. It's not as bad as Buffalo in the last, 5 years, but it's probably not far off.
Yeah.
Probably not far off. But look, it's a new day, and it's a new opportunity against a team that is really struggling. First, let's look at the Ottawa Senators and their lines. These are, of course, the lines from the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We've got Tim Stützle at center with Brady Tkachuk and Fabian Zetterlund. That was an awesome line last night. Dylan Cousins with David Perron and Drake Batherson. Ridley Gregg with Michael Amadio and Claude Giroux. And then Stephen Halliday with Curtis McDermott and Nick Cousins. On the back end, Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, Tyler Clevin, Jordan Spence, and then Nicholas Matinpalo and Nick Jensen. Of course, we've got Thomas Chabot with all the asterisks there, wondering if he gets in the lineup on Saturday, or do they want to hold him off of a back-to-back and just wait till Sunday and have him as the seventh defenseman, knowing that he could, in a pinch, play, which would mean they'd be okay with sending Gilbert down, but maybe just one more day wouldn't be the worst idea, the way he re-aggravated his injury last time. No word who starts in goal. I think we're both in agreement that this is a good spot for Levi Merilainen to get in and play. But if they go with Ullmark, I'll be cool with that too, because Levi Merilainen is 3-0 in his career against the Boston Bruins. So that is something that might come into play. We know Jacques Martin is on the coaching staff, and he referenced that almost every game when he was the head coach interim there for the rest of that season, saying, hey, why'd you pick your goalie here? Well, he's got good numbers against that team in the past. I always find that kind of amusing, but hey, it works at times. So either way, we're good with the goaltending. Pilsy, who's your locked on player? Give me for the weekend, both games.
Okay. I will go with Claude Giroux running it back. It's a matinee game. He scored yesterday up against his hated Pittsburgh Penguins. So I think Claude Giroux can have a nice game there. And then for Boston, I'll go with Dylan Cousins. I feel like he's been able to quietly produce here, but hasn't or has been overshadowed a little bit by the play of Tkachuk and Stützle. So I want to see Dylan Cousins keep it rolling. Question, Ross. Do you think it's a possibility we see an 11-7 lineup this weekend, just because, you're going to try to ease Chabot in, and maybe you take Curtis McDermott out against Chicago? There's not really a tough guy there that he matches up against.
Well, with all due respect, they've basically been playing 11-6.
Well, that would be even more of a reason to ease Chabot in and get different minutes there, as opposed to having a guy play a minute 41.
I think if you're a head coach, though, you see number 72 available for you, there is no easing him in. He's going to play 20 minutes. At least.
Yeah. I don't think they should do 11-7. I'm not a fan of 11-7, and I know defensemen aren't either, because not only is it cutting down your minutes, but it's going to throw you out of a funk. Someone's going to have to rotate partners, and that's never an ideal thing. So I don't think they should do that. It's just something I thought about quickly here, because a back-to-back and getting a guy back from injury and having a player like Curtis McDermott in your lineup, I thought maybe that's something that could at least be considered.
Yeah, I'm sure the coaches are considering it. Now, it's not a tough travel back-to-back, because you play the matinee at home, and then you just go to Boston, hour 15 flight, and then you're already settled in by evening, and then you get the full day to prep for the game. So my locked-on player is going to be Tim Stützle tomorrow, because he is the draw. He is the ticket seller for this game. No Connor Bedard, no problem. Tim Stützle is having a heck of a run right now. Had the assist on Brady Tkachuk's game-opening goal, extending his point streak to 5 games. That was his first of the 5 games where he did not have multiple points, just the one apple for them. And he could have had a couple goals. Hits the post on a shorthanded breakaway. I just felt like Tim Stützle was all over it, and that was great to see. He's also taken 6 shot attempts in each of his last 3 games, 8 the game in Columbus and 5 against the New Jersey Devils. You can even go back to the St. Louis game where he had 7 shot attempts. So he is shooting. That's 38 shot attempts in his last 6 games. 20 of them have been on goal, and 4 of them have gone into the back of the net. He's also averaging 2 hits per game over that stretch. The power play, 6 of his 10 points have come with the man advantage. He is just all over the ice, and he is truly the type of player that if he's coming to your city, you should buy tickets to go watch Tim Stützle shoot and pass. Okay, on the Chicago side.
Wait, what about Boston? Who's your locked on player for Boston?
Brady Tkachuk, because we know that last year he scored an OT winner there in Boston. And go to his Instagram and go to the first photo ever. That's why we're rooting for him against the Bruins. The Chicago Blackhawks with Frankie Nazar lining up as their top line centerman between Tyler Bertuzzi and Andrei Burakovsky. Then you've got Jason Dickinson with Teuvo Teravainen and Ilya Mikheyev. The third line is Ryan Green with Oliver Moore and Nick Lardis. The fourth line, Dominic Toninato with Colton Dack and Ryan Donato down on the fourth line. On defense, Alex Vlasic with Louis Crevier. You've got Matt Grzelcyk with Artyom Levshunov and Wyatt Kaiser with Connor Murphy. Still no confirmation. I'll expect until told otherwise that Spencer Knight starts in goal. Arvid Soderblom is the backup. Sam Lafferty, an extra. The 2 injuries, Connor Bedard and former Senator Nick Foligno. Pilsy, this is a team where you look at them on paper, they're young. That third line, especially everybody 23 and under. Nick Lardis just played his first and second career NHL game. So there's a lot of youth on this lineup. There's also not a lot of depth down the middle when you take out Bedard.
Yeah, this is a very different team without Connor Bedard in the lineup. And last time he got a hat trick up against the Ottawa Senators. So, of course, you want to see that guy playing. He's good for the game, but I don't mind not seeing him when he comes to Ottawa. But I'm going to be looking out for number 59, Tyler Bertuzzi. He was on a super hot streak before Bedard got injured. In the 17 games, well, I guess Bedard got injured in that St. Louis game, but we'll count that as a game without Bedard for purpose of my stats.
No, you can't.
I will be.
He got hurt with 4 seconds left.
They missed him for 4 seconds there. In the 17 games before Bedard was injured, 20 points for Tyler Bertuzzi, including 14 goals. Then without Bedard in that St. Louis game for that 4 seconds really impacted Bertuzzi's game. No points the entire time and is a -7.
Wow.
So this, especially Tyler Bertuzzi, really needs Connor Bedard there. And the power play hasn't scored since Bedard's left. And Tyler Bertuzzi leads the Chicago Blackhawks in power play goals with 8. So he's the straw that stirs the drink for this Blackhawks team. And without him, like, look at this lineup. Like, sure, you got some nice wingers in Bertuzzi, Burakovsky, Teravainen, Mikheyev, but that center depth is just crumbles without him there.
Well, that's why my my lookout player rather is going to be Frank Nazar. And I just Googled Frank Lazar. Shout out Curtis Lazar.
Nice.
Frankie Nazar is actually a phenomenal player, and I'm a huge fan of his. He plays with so much speed. Had a really hot start to the year though, and he hit a bit of a wall, which isn't to be unexpected. He's 21 years old, but he did score the lone goal against the Montreal Canadiens last night. That was his first point in 7 games, -7 in his last 7. He started the season with 5 points in his first 3 games, 6 points in his first 5. So he's a guy where I think the NHL schedule's catching up with him a little bit. Last season, played 53 games, missed a bunch with injury as well. But now you're looking at a guy who I still think has a lot more to give. Now, it's a pretty unfair situation that he finds himself in, being the top line center with not a whole lot of help around him, but he's a heck of a player. So if you're a Sens fan going to the game, look out for number 91 on the Hawks. Very, very high skilled player. I believe the 13th overall pick in the 2022 draft. Pillsy, let's take a look at how these teams match up head to head. The Ottawa Senators were 3-2-0 in their last 5 games. The Hawks only with 1 win, a shutout victory over the New York Rangers. They've lost 4 of their last 5. The Senators, they score more than the Hawks by quite a margin. The Hawks, though, they do have better goals against average, and shout out Spencer Knight for that. He's one of the league leaders in goals saved above expected. He's been providing elite goaltending for them. Shooting percentage almost identical. Team save percentage, of course, the Hawks have the edge there, as we just mentioned. They're getting great goaltending. Senators' power play is unreal compared to the Hawks, over almost 6% better, almost 5% better, rather. And then the PK, big credit to the Hawks, man. 84.2% is incredibly impressive for them. Ottawa with a huge edge in the face-off battle, and they dominate the numbers at 5-on-5 compared to the Chicago Blackhawks. So for me, big key to victory is play this game 5-on-5. I know the power play has been good, but I think that kind of X's itself out with how good the Hawks penalty kill's been. Just play this game 5-on-5. Be disciplined. Don't give the Hawks any opportunity to go up in this game. Try to get the first one as well. I know that's kind of a easy thing to say, but if you can play with the lead against a team that's already without confidence and without their leader, there's going to be a house of cards effect. And I think you can pull out one of those bottom cards early in this game and allow them all to crumble down. So that's kind of where I'm at with this game. It should be a business-like win for the Ottawa Senators.
Take care of business at home, get the points, and move on to Boston, the more important game here. Like there's really no excuse for the Senators not to win this game. Spencer Knight, he scares me. He's been insanely hot. And if he just shuts the door, we've seen like Joel Hofer, an example. When a goalie's just hot, the Sens can't get through, and a 2-1 loss. These kinds of games can happen. We saw the same with Wallstead, like where you're clearly the better team, but you can't get the win. Can't have that this time, because this Hawks lineup is just not good enough to be able to beat you when these are such important points.
And I think that Spencer Knight, it took it personally, his first appearance against the Ottawa Senators, where there's a photo of him just laying outside the crease, flat on his stomach. I think Ottawa won that game 7-1 or something. And then I don't think they'd beaten the Panthers until the home opener that we went to last season. Since then, it really felt like a turning point for that. But I'm sure that's still in the back of Spencer Knight's mind, where it's like, I owe them a couple really good performances to go head-to-head. In Spencer Knight's career against the Ottawa Senators, of course, that game would affect the numbers there. Guess what, though? It's his only loss against Ottawa. He's 4-1-0, but an .888 save percentage thanks to the first game that he played. So he's won 4 straight against the Senators. Will be interesting to see how Ottawa can respond. Quick preview for the Boston game, Pillsy. This is a Bruins team that's going to be playing at home against the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday. So they're in the middle of a big one. 5-game homestand. Ottawa will be the 4th of the 5 games. They're currently 1-1 heading into the weekend. They beat the Utah Mammoth 4-1 and then fell last night to the Edmonton Oilers. So they've lost 2 of their last 3 games. They fell to the Minnesota Wild in Quinn Hughes' debut at that team, but they had won 4 games in a row before that. That's a really kind of interesting note about the Boston Bruins season is they started out with 3 wins, then they lost 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Then they won, I think it was 7 of 8, 8 of 9. And then from then on, they literally went loss, win, loss, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, and then the big winning streak. And now they're starting to be in that turn downward. So hopefully Ottawa can continue rolling it down. And we're going to be rooting hard on Saturday night for the Vancouver Canucks to get 2 big points in regulation against the Bruins as well. So I'm just looking at this Boston game, not to get ahead of ourselves, but we want the postcast to be nice and focused on Saturday's game. So I am kind of keeping an eye on this Boston game, because it could be huge when you talk about the games in hand that Ottawa already has to be able to win the head-to-head matchups. Ottawa is they're 2-0-1 against the Bruins this year. They've already played 3 times, eh?
3? Wow.
Yeah, they've already played 3 games. This will be the 4th and final meeting between the Sens and Bruins. So You don't want it to be 500, right? Because if the Bruins win, they're 2-2 against Ottawa. You got to make it so that you win this game. It's obviously the more important game, and why we would put Linus Ullmark in for this one. All right, Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is let's keep it rolling here. We said once the Sens beat Winnipeg with us there, the Slump Busters, it felt like the Sens are going to get hot because they had been playing good and just not getting the wins. They find a way to get that win in overtime. Then they get the shutout win. So let's take care of business up against Chicago, regulation win up against Boston, then slay the demons. That is the Buffalo Sabres up against the Ottawa Senators, and go into that Christmas break with a 5-game heater up against the Leafs coming out of it. Like, this could really be a TSN turning point for the Ottawa Senators if things go their way.
Hey, it's a long season, and we have to remind ourselves of that as well, because we're guilty of falling into the trap of you lose 4 of 5, 5 of 6, and the sky is falling.
Hey, I held the line, though. Everyone was sick of hearing me say, not worried, let's not panic. I held the line, and I think that's going to pay off here.
You did have the panic button out. I saw it on screen.
I mean, it sits on my desk. It's always there, Ross. I'm looking at it right now because I can't be scared of it. Like, I can't.
But you were holding it.
Well, I mean, I can reach and grab it. It's still turned off. The batteries haven't been running at all. But I don't want to be scared of it. I want it to be there to keep me hungry.
Okay, well, stay hungry, Sens fans. You're eating Chicago Blackhawk and Boston Bruin this weekend, and we will have the postcast for you after each of those games. We've got a great Christmas week planned for you as well on Locked On Senators, so stay tuned for that. And if you want more, make sure to join the Everydayer Club All Access and get in to the action. The link to join is in the description below. Prilsy, final thoughts on today's show?
I already gave my final thoughts.
Okay,
I
want another one.
Another one? Okay, let's get Belleville heating up here. New coach bump for Andrew Campbell. I talked about slaying the Sabres beast. Well, the Rochester Americans are just as much of a tough opponent for the Belleville Senators, and they need some positivity here because it's been tough times. And when you lose a guy like David Bell, he's a guy that I think a lot of the players there respected, and he's been around a long time. So obviously you're happy for Campbell, but it's not easy when you lose a coach like Bellsy.
It's a strange time, and I'm glad that you did that. Every Friday, your final thoughts are about Belleville, Pillsy. I was just trying to walk you into that. Because the Sens, if they're doing well, so we got to keep our same rotation going. I will say I am glad that this is a road game for Belleville. Start with the new coach on the road, no distractions. Just get on the bus, get to Rochester, and go get 2 points down there for Andrew Campbell. All right, we'll see you in the postcast tomorrow, just after a 3:00 start for the Senators. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.